Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
What is up, Burn Nation, and welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. We have an amazing episode here for you today. We're going to talk about National Women's Health Day. Health and Fitness Day. We're going to talk about all things women's health and debunking myths about women's health. And so I'm here from the trainer perspective. I got three amazing women here to talk about all of these things today. I got Trish Pena, our VP of Marketing at Burn Bootcamp. I have Amber Burke, our COO of Burn Bootcamp, and DJ Splain, who is Morgan and I's brand manager. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a moment, but it's September 25th, guys and gals, and listen, it fall's in the air. We are in the middle of our Burn Bootcamp fall challenge called Confidence Takes Reps. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I've been obsessed with this challenge, both from a personal member perspective and challenging myself and hitting my PRs, but also from a programming perspective and working with our VP of Fitness, Matt Morris, on continuing to innovate and make things interesting. So we ran into a little issue that I've been having a lot of fun trying to solve, which is our members are too beast mode, and they lift all the weight in the gym, all the weight, and we don't have any more weight to lift. So we got to figure out how to get more weight to lift. That's a good problem to have. Yep. Thousands of members out there tagging me. If you've been following my Instagram at devin.klein, then you've been seeing my goblet squat issues that I've been having. I've been trying to figure out how to intensify these goblet squats. So I'm having a lot of fun doing that. On a personal note, pickleball has been the thing at my house. I don't know about you guys, but in my 6-year-old Maxwell, he's getting good. He was putting me through a workout this last weekend. Yeah, and so he's getting good. And so, yeah, everything's good. The Klein household is very active in the fall, and that's what I wanted to continue. We were so active during the summer, and I wanted to continue that activity. I love being outdoors. I hate going home in the evening and sitting there around. I want to be outdoors playing pickleball or even beating the trees in the backyard with sticks. That's much more fun than sitting there watching my kids watch videos on their iPad. So I'm going to go to DJ. How are you? What's going on in your world?
I am good. I actually just celebrated my 8th year here at Burn Bootcamp, which is so awesome. It feels like just yesterday, but also feels like 8 years at the same time.
80
but
years.
all in the best way. And personally, if you know, my second child, the stubborn one, is starting to potty train, and she's starting to get it quick. Because for a very long time, I was like, we're going to be in diapers forever. I'm just accepting that. It is what it is. But no, we're rocking and rolling, and my world is opening up. So I am stoked.
Nice.
All right, let's go to Trish.
I was going to say, we're probably 6 months post potty training, DJ, so I feel that. And then just all the moms out there, once you're done with diapers, you're done with formula. It's oh my gosh, I have other money that I can spend doing other things with. So I feel that, wishing you all the best.
I'm I can carry
really
a purse again.
Yeah.
I don't have to have a diaper bag.
It's so nice.
What is
More
this
arms.
life?
Yeah, no. And I think I'm the same way. We have, similar to you, I have 3 boys. Fall sports are in full swing. We're doing all football this fall, so it's kind of nice that all my kids are in the same sport. And they both love it so much. So much to the fact that my 8-year-old is he made this commitment. We don't do a lot of soda in my house. I just want to clarify that. But he's I'm going to do no soda. He's hardcore, just wants to perform. And I love to see that in him at such a young age, because he is my athlete. He's the one that's going to go all out. So it's just fun. I love the fall time of year, all the things that are going on. And I read this meme that popped up on my Instagram the other day that was basically August went by fast, but September's coming into a 35 mile per hour zone at 75 miles per hour. Basically, Merry Christmas, everybody. So that's kind of how I'm feeling as well. Just everything's going fast, but it's good.
AB.
Yeah. Hey guys, I feel that 75. It could be 100, to be quite honest with you. But lots going on in the Burke household. So I'm in a little different phase than you guys. I have a sophomore in high school, which is a whole nother level. First boyfriend, entering into homecoming. We need a dress. It's a whole. It's a lot. It's a whole thing, but it's great. He's a great kid, and it's fun to watch. And then my little guy, he's 11. We are full into fall travel baseball. Every weekend is game after game after game, and just watching him improve and watching the team. So I was an athlete, and I don't mind being on the baseball field hours every single weekend. So that's a lot of fun. My daughter rides horses, so we have fall horse shows that are also happening. So it is like ships passing in the night, who's got who, what, when, where. But I also love being outside. So the fact that both my kids do sports that are outside all the time is super fun, especially in the fall. Also just came off of about 7 days of training for of travel for Burn Boot Camp. So hitting the Mind Body Conference and really learning more about how our vendors are going to support us as an organization. And then a franchise development expo, which was super cool to go to just to see other franchises. But, one of the only fitness concepts, and we were the funnest booth there. We had so much traffic. They were like, what energy is this? We were dancing. The old 7-Eleven guys were like, what's going on over there? And we're like, this is what it looks like
Burn
to have energy and to be healthy and to want to move. And so lots of fun.
Yes. Well, thank you all for sharing. And I'm excited because this episode marks the first time ever that we're going to do an ad. Are you ready for it?
Yes,
We're
let's
gonna do an
go.
ad.
Let's go.
There's a first time for everything. And so this episode of the Burn Boot Camp podcast is brought to you by Burn Boot Camp Meals. All right. We just launched the meals not too long ago, and they're officially available for purchase on our website. Check out this awesome video right here to learn more about how these meals can be a game changer for your nutrition and your protein. All right, everybody.
Nice.
Yes. So order your 12-pack on auto ship. You get 5% off putting it on auto ship, and if you order by Sunday at 9 p.m., it'll be there next week. That's the key date. You want to order by Sunday at 9 p.m. You don't want to order Monday, okay? Because then you have to wait another week. Because we ship it fresh to your house, vacuum sealed. It's never frozen. 20 plus varieties, all 500 calories or less, all high in protein, and macros for results. In case you were listening and not watching. By the way, you can listen to the Burn Bootcamp podcast on Apple, or you can watch it and listen on YouTube and Spotify. So that was good. How'd I do?
That was great.
Great.
Okay.
Bravo.
That's really
A+.
I was a little nervous for doing my first live ad here. All right, we're hopping into the burn world, everybody. And during the middle of our Confidence Takes Reps challenge, this is the final week, and this is the time where we're going to bring it all together, and we get to do a very, very special workout at the end of this month, which is bringing all 4 of our exercises together. We have goblet squats, we have chin-ups, we have full burpees, and what's the last one?
Snatches, right?
Snatches. It's my favorite.
It's my favorite.
I love
Okay,
snatches.
those 4 exercises, all in one workout. Get ready for it. Yeah,
It's going to be awesome.
you ready for it?
I'm excited. I honestly, Devin, your energy around all of this has made me even more excited, specifically for the full burpees. That's something that I love to hate a burpee. And so I've given myself this massive goal of trying to get 50.
Woo.
So hopefully I can hit it this week. But I also love a snatch too. So I for me, it's all about kind of hyper focusing on these exercises that makes these challenges super fun and gives you kind of more intentionality going into your workout. So I hope Burn Nation's loving it. I don't know, Amber, how are you feeling about this challenge?
It's been very fun. I'm with DK though I'm running out of the heavy weights. I think we were actually in camp together, and I look around and I'm like, DK, can you put this on my back? And I think it was the 100, and he was like, we need heavier weights. I'm like, yes, we do. Snatch is also my favorite. I love Olympic lifting, and it's just one of my favorite exercises. So I've really enjoyed that one. I'm not looking for the burpees as much as you are, but you know what? I will support you.
Thank you.
We will do camp together. I'll count for you.
There you go.
How about that?
Yeah, no, I think it's fun too. We don't typically do like a lot of chin-ups, and so that being a part of the challenge has been really cool because it's not something that I'm great at. Obviously, I want to focus on going heavier with my reps and PRing that way, but then doing a PR in a completely like new exercise has been really empowering too, because you know, we always focus on pull-ups, and that's not something that I'm great at yet. It's something I'll get there with lots of practice, but doing a chin-up, I'm like, okay, my biceps, all right, I got this. And so then it just like, I felt this like rejuvenation of like, okay, girl, like go ahead. So it's been fun.
Nice.
Is that like your self-conversation when
Yeah,
you're working
I'm there,
out?
I'm
You're
like,
like,
oh, yeah.
you get up there, you're like, no, girl, I don't think so. Yeah, girl, you got this. Go ahead. And then it's like back and forth.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that, yeah, I
The
love
inner
it.
monologue.
The inner monologue. Yeah, well, you know, having these 4 exercises being around like what you can gain rather than what you can lose. You know, historically, it's all been about cutting, deficit, loss, and burn. We really put our flag in the ground when we first started, and we said, you know, strong people are what builds our communities, and that starts with physical strength, because in our opinion, the physical strength just introduces you the opportunity to then become mentally and emotionally strong. And if I'm staring, like DJ was just explaining, down the face of like these chin-ups, that my mind is like, I don't know, Devin, if you're gonna be able to do that. And then I try anyway, in spite of that negative voice in my head, and I do it, well, that then renders that negative voice useless or less impactful over time. And so it's not about like getting rid of negativity. It's about understanding that you have 2 voices, one that represents positivity and one that represents negativity. And what are you going to listen to? Like, what decisions are you going to make? Because positive and negative thoughts are the universal thoughts that we all have. We all have doubt. We all have shame. We all have embarrassment. We all have these negative emotions. And nothing can make you feel that way. It's your decision on how you then take that emotion, synthesize it. So that's what it's all about. And when I'm programming these exercises, that's what I'm thinking about. It's not about, I know on the surface, it is about these movements that physically look strong, and you can load up your body, and you're lifting 100-pound weights on a goblet squat. Wow, like how incredible. But I know the underlying psychology that someone has to have to even attempt that in the first place. So keep picking up the heavy weights, you guys. Keep it up. All right, and we're going to continue to make this thing better and better and better. We have a burn story, speaking of better and better and better, from Kelly Lonsway from Burn Canton. Okay, this is in Michigan, my home state. And you guys, this story is incredible, and I want you to listen to Kelly, who has just, I believe, trained her 1,000th camp.
Took her 100th camp.
Took her 1,000th camp. Kelly.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lonsway. I am head trainer in Canton, Michigan. My burn journey started in January of 2021 when I entered to win an Instagram giveaway for a free 4 weeks here at Burn. I entered and I won. First day was February 1st, 2021. And from that day, I haven't turned back. I started off as a member. I was a member for about 10 months before I joined the team here at Canton as a Burn ambassador. I became Burn ambassador, and quickly I then became ops manager. As ops manager, I was here so much. I fell in love with the brand, fell in love with my gym, so much so that I asked my franchise partner, Chelsea, how I could become a trainer to be even more involved in the gym. I took my certification test and passed and became a trainer here in May of 2023. From May of 2023, I quickly then gained the role of head trainer as ours was leaving, and I stepped up and I couldn't be even more excited to be head trainer here. Fast forward here to we are now here in September of 2024. I just hit my 1-year mark as head trainer, and I hit my 1,000th camp in 3.5 years of working out here at Burn Boot Camp. I also just competed in my first athlete games this past summer, and I truly could not be more excited to be part of the Burn Boot Camp family, and I look forward to many more years here to come with Burn Boot Camp.
Kelly, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing so much. And we're going to make some comments on Kelly's story. But if you guys would like to submit your testimonial, submit your story, podcast@burnbootcamp.com. We got Chelsea, our producer, right on it. She'll make sure to communicate with you. Let's comment on Kelly's story. I just think I made some notes too. I'll go last. I'll start with DJ with you. We'll work our way this way. What stuck out to you about Kelly's story that you'd like everyone to know?
I mean, all of it, but I was just watching her and she just had this glow about her and like her smile. And I could just tell that all of this time has definitely empowered her and has affected her confidence. And then she just spoke so eloquently about her story as well. And so I'm just sitting here mesmerized by her. I'm like, wow, just her outer beauty was definitely just shining, and congrats to you. That's awesome.
Amber.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear the progression. And we hear this all the time. She's going to be a franchise partner in the next 10 months. I'm just going to tell you that, because you go from being a member, 10 months later, you're a Burn ambassador, and then you're striving to be a trainer. And when you put all of that together, it's an incredible transformation. And you're looking at her, and her ability to project that is literally coming out of her. And it's just each of those milestones of accomplishment truly meant something to her. And I can only imagine what that looks like with her family, with her kids, people she's influencing. Even competing in athlete games is an incredible milestone and achievement, just in physical work and mental work, to be able to put that in, also train, also do live. So just congratulations to her. But I love knowing that we inspire people just to consistently achieve more, even outside the four walls of the gym. It's incredible.
No, and then she's taking that feeling that she got as, I love that she won an Instagram giveaway. I love that that's how she found Burn Boot Camp. And then she felt so impacted by the brand and what she was experiencing on the floating floor, which we hear all the time. And I also had the same kind of story that you have, Kelly. And I'm just so proud of you for taking what you felt and now you're pouring into other people as the lead trainer. You went through the journey, like Amber was saying. You took the steps. You know what it's like to sit in the operations role, talking to that new member that's maybe a little bit nervous, intimidated. They don't really know what to expect. And what's different about Burn Boot Camp than anywhere else is what you experience on the floating floor. It transcends the gym. And that's clearly, Kelly, you're a walking testament of that. And so I'm just so thankful that we have you in Burn Nation. The Canton community is so thankful, or so blessed to have you. So thank you for sharing your story.
Yes, and great comments, you guys. What I picked up on was that there was a risk-reward scenario with Kelly. And, when DJ mentioned that she was kind of glowing, the first time I noticed that is when she said, I entered and won. And it's like that one little sentence, just entering, like the decision to enter, right? Like how many of us just don't say yes to things? Why do we say, like, at camp, we say, make sense, say yes to understand the exercise. Yeah, one. But two, so that you condition your body and your mind to using this word. I mean, it's simple, right? It's language. It transforms our life or transacts our life. And it's your choice based on the language that you use. And so entered, she said yes, led to being a head trainer, led to 1,000 camps, and all the cascading health effects from those 1,000 camps. Then she competed. And now she's like, this is the reward. The reward is the glow. The reward is all of the confidence that she has earned from entering in the first place. And without the act of entering, then none of the other cascading effects happen. And it's just such a powerful story of risk reward. So I think Kelly's telling you all to just say yes. If your intuition is calling for you to do something, get your mind out of the way, stop thinking about it, and listen to your heart. Make sense? Say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Take the step.
Put
Just
yourself
do it.
outside
Take
of
the
your
step.
comfort zone.
Be bold. Be bold, be brave.
That's right. Okay, Sam. Thank you for your question. Lakewood, Colorado. All right, Sam asks, I am postpartum after having a C-section. What are some exercises I can do to build my core strength back up once I'm cleared so I don't injure myself once I come back to camp? Are there things that I should avoid at first? Does anyone here have a C-section if you're willing to say? Okay,
I
Amber?
did.
Why don't you start then? Because that would be most relevant to her question.
Okay. Well, I am by no means an expert.
Well,
at
you were a
this.
trainer for a very long
I
time
was a
too,
trainer for a
everybody.
very
For
long
like how
time.
long? Like a decade or so. So you got room on this
yes,
one, COO.
Yes. I mean, first and foremost, I think that you go to Burn on Demand and you take a look at the pelvic floor series. I think that's the best place to start. But otherwise, it's truly just listening to your body. I think what's important to know is where were you before you even got started, because that's the place. Not necessarily that you're starting from, but that's what your body's kind of preconditioned to. And so I think just really tapping in and understanding where is my body right now. Also giving your body some grace and giving yourself some grace in the process. But physically, I think it's making sure that we're just starting with basic bracing. Like let's just be very intentional about activation, because if we can't get that mind-body connection, we can move, we can stretch, we can flex, we can strengthen, but it's the connection to really understanding how all of those things are fundamentally fitting together. And biomechanically, when you're executing those movements, you want that neuromuscular pathway to be developed and fire in the right sequence, because without that, then we're retraining our body to do things in the wrong way. And so I think it's first and foremost just starting with those basic, just bracing exercises, building up some of that muscular endurance in that particular core area, and then moving on from there with relative incremental challenges. We talk about this a lot, RPE, rate of perceived exertion. It's like tap into that. All of us need to really recognize what is our rate of perceived exertion as we go through these exercises.
I'm so glad that you shouted out it's literally
Pelvic
called
floor.
Core and Pelvic Floor
Yes,
series for a
empower
reason.
your pelvis.
Yeah, this is something that our members experience. We have a lot of moms, a lot of new moms, a lot of even women that are working out while pregnant, and we want to set you guys up for success. So I'm not an expert. I did not have any C-sections. But what I would say is rely on your trainer, schedule those focus meetings, and making sure you're getting your information from a credible source. That's why we brought in Dr. Amanda Fisher.
Yep.
She is a Burn Bootcamp member, which is great, and we love that. So she already knows what we do at Burn Bootcamp, and then she can take those movements that we do, and that's what she walks you through on this series, is how then you can take that and make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, just like Amber said. So would 100% want to direct you towards Dr. Amanda Fisher on our Burn on Demand Core and Pelvic Floor series to kind of get you into those, I guess, educating yourself on where is your body at, and then taking it to the next level in camp.
Yeah, speaking of Amanda, so she and I just had a podcast. I think it comes out in a couple weeks or so. And so look out for that. And we go really deep into this, but I'll give you guys just a little teaser, if you will. So I asked her the question when I was speaking with her, if I'm a woman and I just had a C-section and I've never worked out before, period, like where do I start? Because I thought all of your advice was great, but also probably for a Burn member who was like working out and then stopped because of a pregnancy for a while, had a C-section, and then was coming back. So let me take the perspective of like net new, never worked out before, like you had the C-section and now your body feels different and you're ready to go and to take your body back and to really start to control your muscle again. And that's where you have to start diaphragmatic breathing. That's her first thing, diaphragmatic breathing. I had to ask her 4 times how to say that. Diaphragmatic breathing. And this is just a very fancy way to say, when you're cleared by your doctor, lay on your belly or lay on your back, put your feet on the floor and start to breathe through your belly. Like Amber was saying, brace, but you're bracing just in the most uncompromising position you could be in. Okay, so you breathe in, let your belly rise, breathe out, and just flex your core and try to get your mind, your neurons firing with your muscle, okay, and just squeezing your abs. So big breath in. As you breathe out, contract the abs. That's number 1. And you really want to do that until you have complete control, until you can breathe out all the way, exhale, and really squeeze that core to the point where your mind is controlling your muscle. Again, number 2 would be then the pelvic floor engagement. She said that you could do this 2 ways. The first way that you could do this is Kegels, the classic Kegel exercise. The second way is, she calls it like the 2-minute drill. And when you're brushing your teeth or something, just grab a hold of your sink counter and drop down into a supported squat with your weight on your heels. Go belly button below your knees. So if you can think about that, my hamstrings are like on my calves. And at the bottom of that motion, as I'm supporting myself, I breathe out the same way I'd breathe out in the previous example. I'd breathe out as I'm standing up. And I'd want to do that maybe 10 times, okay? That would be the next step. And then you want to start doing some more ab contraction stuff, and you could start with some type of unilateral exercise. You could do like dead bugs, she said, which is where you lay on your back, left leg fully extended, right arm fully extended while right leg is bent, left arm is straight to the ceiling. Or you could do heel slides where you lay on your back and you take your fingertips and you kind of go side to side, touch your heels. So this is just some examples. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, you can visualize in your head what I mean in my head, and so that you can visually see it. But number one, I can't say this word. I'm going to keep screwing it up. Diaphragmatic breathing. Number two, pelvic floor engagement. And number three, modified heel slides. If you are just getting started with working out postpartum and especially post C-section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound good?
Yeah,
Yes.
good stuff.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to another segment here. DJ, you read this article in depth. I'm going to turn the mic over to you and let you introduce this article. We linked it in the show notes, everybody, if you want to follow along with it. But we're going to have a discussion around what is cycle syncing and its benefits. Well, let me correct. They are going to have a discussion on what is cycle syncing and its benefits, and I'm going to sit here and ask questions and be educated because I admittedly know absolutely nothing about this topic. It's not that I am even trying to be humorous. I just know nothing about this topic, and I'd like to know more about this topic. So I probably am just going to listen and ask questions. So DJ,
Yeah,
take it
no,
over.
that's great. And it definitely is something that's come out a lot more recently. So I understand why maybe you aren't as well versed because it is a little bit newer. So now is our opportunity to learn a little bit more about cycle syncing. So this article breaks it down and it says that it's just being very aware of the different phases of your cycle and adjusting your lifestyle, such as diet, exercise, and sleep habits to support your body during each phase. So there's the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulatory phase.
You got that one right. I'm impressed. That was a good one.
Thank you. And the luteal phase. And so it's broken up into, day one, starting day one of your period, going until basically you start your period again. So for some women, that's 28 days and can go as long as 32, 33, 34 days. So it's just dependent on the woman. But as it breaks down each phase, within each phase, the idea is that you are either working out, sleeping, or eating differently to support each phase. So during your menstrual phase, you're losing a lot of blood. So they say it's great to eat iron-rich foods, dried fruits, nuts, legumes. Some would even go so far as to say, like, stay a lot warmer, keep your feet covered because you're losing a lot of blood. So you want to make sure that you're keeping that warmth inside. Exercising during that time is typically yoga, Pilates, maybe even just like a light walk, because again, your body's going through a lot during that time. So you want to make sure that you are focusing on that and recuperating. The follicular phase is, again, a lot of proteins, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, exercising a little bit more because your energy is coming back. And that goes all the way through to the luteal phase. Basically, during the luteal phase, you can start doing some lower impact workouts, limiting caffeine, alcohol may be reduced during this time, but sleeping a lot more. So it's just giving us those tools. And it also does state that obviously this isn't needed for every woman. It's kind of listening to your body and seeing what does the best for you. I know personally I did do the eating to sync with my cycles and my hormones, but I tried to do like the workouts and like tailor the work, and I just didn't feel like there was like really that much benefit for what it was. And obviously there are some days where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be doing the 50-pound snatches over my head because I'm a little tired, I'm fatigued, I'm in the middle of my period, so maybe I'll go for a walk or I'll just go and I'll lift lighter. But there are some days where I feel more fatigued during my period than others. So I think ultimately it's listening to your body when it comes to the workout side of it. But I definitely see the benefits of the food and sleep.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. I know, as I've experienced fitness throughout my life, it changes. My goals have changed. When I was younger, I was coming out of college as an athlete. I just wanted to compete and keep competing. I don't think I would have ever considered anything in this article at that time. I would have just been like, I'm going 100% all the time because it's just my natural nature and just dismissing how I felt. But now that I'm a little older and more mature, I do listen to my body a lot more. But I also am so invigorated when I do kind of overcome if I'm a little tired, and I go in and I do that harder workout and I feel better because I do that. And so, but there are definitely times over the last couple of years where I've thought, I can only handle a walk today. And so I do that. And I think the last thing you said about just listen, I think that's probably one of the things that as a human, as a mom, as a woman, is like, if I'm connecting with my body and I've got a mind body connection, that's been such a game changer for me to really make sure that I'm doing what's best for my body, regardless of the science and the articles. Is just really giving yourself the opportunity to be in touch with how you're feeling, and then making decisions based on that. But definitely have done some of the things in the article, but I don't always align to the exercise either. So
I'm probably the one that hasn't done any of this. I'm aware, obviously, of my cycle, and I'm aware of how I'm feeling, but I guess I don't apply it to how I'm going to go into a workout. I kind of, yes, if I'm feeling fatigued, I might go for a walk instead, but more times than not, I take it almost as like, is this an excuse that I'm telling myself, and I'm just going to go to camp anyways? And then to your point, Amber, end up feeling like better.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't lift as heavy as I normally would because of DJ, the facts that you said, like losing blood, fatigued, but I do feel like I overcame something, like a feeling that I had inside, and I just still show up for camp. I think that's always been my mentality, is just show up, and whatever that means for you. For me, it's going to mean something completely different than what's going to mean for DJ and Amber. So I do find it very interesting, because I think if you did dig into the science, I could be like, oh, interesting, maybe I should change my nutrients around this time of my cycle. I'm not saying what I'm doing is right. I do want to get more I want to get more educated on this topic, so I don't really have a lot to share, and I'm sure other people are like me in that aspect.
Yeah, my question is how much of this is overkill, right? That's when I read this article, and like I said, I know nothing about it, and I don't get to experience it, so I can only speak from a place of curiosity. But how much of this is like, so in nutrition, here's a metaphor. There's people who are avid anti, let's say, plastics people, and like avid, like don't drink anything out of plastic. Like this plastic water bottle here is like, it's like anarchy. Okay, but then that same person, and I don't have anything against it, but then they're at fast food like 2 hours later, and so like how much of this is that sensation to where you're actually focused on the wrong things, and if you want to feel better overall, then you should probably start with the fundamentals and let this be something that is almost seems to be like once you've gotten to a place and you can no longer get to the next place and you're doing all of the other things, like you're not just checking the boxes on nutrition and fitness and recovery and foam rolling and lengthening and strengthening and, you know, all your mental health and wellness practices, but you're filling those boxes. Like, isn't this like just another box that we can incorporate for progression? That's what it seems to me. What are your comments?
yeah, I would say that's very fair, and I think that's how I kind of feel about some of these things, because it's overwhelming a little bit. Like if we actually did all the things that articles say to do, I don't know, I would just be paralyzed in this state of I don't know what to do first. And so I think it just comes back to what Trish said. She knows what works for her body, and there are limits, and you'll hit that limit and you'll hit that wall, and you'll be like, I'm tired. I'm going to now do this thing, right? So I think that there's a lot to be said for taking all of this information, but interpreting it for you. And then I think that just comes back to just checking in with yourself. How does this make me feel? Yeah. How does this food make me feel? You know, I recently stopped eating processed sugar because it makes me feel like crap. And now, like, I don't even want it. You were talking about risk reward. Now, if I eat it, I know I'm going to feel like crap, and that's not worth it to me anymore. So it's like, I think if you can, but you have to put yourself in a place to be able to take a second to observe what's happening in order to be able to be present enough to make those kind of decisions. If you just read this article and go, I'm going to do all of that, or whatever article it is, then I think that you're dismissing your own understanding of what does this really mean to me?
Right.
Yeah, it's like taking the high level overviews of that article, which is based off facts, based off science, but we're females. We know what that means with their cycle. And then to your point, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast, and I don't want to like beat a dead horse, but it's having the self-awareness of your own body, just like Amber said. And I think that that's been a game changer for me. Once you establish that and you know what you need, then you don't necessarily need to follow this article word for word. You can take it and you can be like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. Just maybe just see if it see what happens. But you don't have to like live by that. So that's just kind of how I live my life too.
Yeah, I agree. As somebody who did this pretty avidly during a time of, I wouldn't say infertility, but definitely questioning what was going on with my body, I was looking to anything and everything to fix what was going on. And so this wasn't an end all be all, but in the moment, to your guys' point, it was one of those things where it became all consuming. It was like, okay, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this and I can't do that. And then it became, I was like almost fearful of all of these things that I was trying in hopes that it would like make it work. But this was one that I definitely felt was a lot easier to implement into my day to day because I looked up food charts where it broke it all down and it said like, here are your grains, vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts and seeds, meats, so on and so forth. And I just tried to grocery shop for that week around those times. And I definitely did feel a lot more energy. I felt a lot more mental clarity. And I stuck with it for probably about a good 3 to 4 months. And it was shortly after implementing that for a while that I ended up getting pregnant. And so for me, it was one of those where I was like, okay, that had to have been the thing that worked. And granted, there's a lot of other powers that be here other than just eating apricots during my ovulatory phase. But it was definitely something where I did see the benefits of the eating part specifically. The working out, it was kind of here nor there. Again, listening to my body and just knowing what I was capable of. And trying to, sleep some more.
Yeah.
But again, I already had a kid at that point, so sleep was kind of out the window. So I was like, all right, the eating is what's really going to help. And the article is talking, I think, more for those women who are having hormone imbalances, and that is a way to kind of level things out. But again, it can't be sustainable forever. Because like I don't do that now. I did it for a time period and felt its benefits, and I try to do it when I can. But again, it's tricky. But I can see where it's coming from.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're using it as an infertility strategy. That's interesting. Okay, that's like something I didn't even think of.
Yeah, because I had gone to a lot of
this.
doctors, and they were saying like, "Oh, you're great, everything's good." And I'm sure there are a lot of women out there who hear that, and I'm like, okay, you keep telling me I'm good, but I'm not receiving the outcome that would imply that I am good. So something must be going on. And I just started doing my own research and digging. And it was one of those where I was like, okay, this is an easy lift. Like, it's not invasive. It's something that I can control and I can do on my own. And I definitely, again, I saw the benefits of it. So
yeah, that's something that I didn't think about when I saw this question. So that's a good reason to consider reading the article. If either way, right? If you just want to know your body better and learn it and understand it, we really believe that education is the ultimate power. Right now, it's potential power because education in your head without execution is just education in your head, and it's not reality. You have to go out and use it like DJ did. But yeah, that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And that's a newer science too. There isn't too much on that. So we'll continue to talk about that. And yeah, let us know if this has helped you at all in any scenario. DJ attributes the understanding of her menstrual cycle to infertility and becoming fertile and then being able to give life. And so that's a really interesting prospect. I know so many women are and men, couples rather, are dealing with that. So, okay, good stuff. We'll link that in the show notes, by the way, everybody. If you want to go ahead and just have easy access, go ahead and click on that. We have a member question coming up next. This is from Amanda from Nashville, Tennessee. What's up, Amanda? And Amanda asks, what struggles can people use to manage stress effectively, especially during transitions like motherhood/fatherhood? So I'll start with you, Trish, on that one. What strategies can we use to manage stress effectively, especially during the transition of parenthood?
I mean, I think this is not a one-size-fits-all answer because I think every day is something different, right? In my brain, I've had 3 kids. I think I've came out of each of my postpartum phases in a different mentality, had different stresses. So I just know, I'm not going to say how old I am, but I've have years of experience of trial and error and trying to figure out what does work for me. And for me, it's just staying in consistency. So if I am feeling overwhelmed, or if, even just after having my third child, I think the biggest thing for me, what I didn't do before, is I stayed working. I stayed working out. I stayed eating the same way that I was. I didn't do anything different drastically because I just brought a new child, my third boy, into this world. And, my husband has a really stressful job where he travels a lot as well. So for me, it's just been, if I can be consistent with what I'm doing, and if I know I'm a better mom, I'm a better human, I'm better for me. If I work out, if I eat well, I get my protein in, just again, being consistent, and routine is like my favorite thing. So that's how I've been able to manage it a little bit better. I'm not saying I have it all figured out, because there are definitely days when I'm a stress ball and I have to like center myself and figure out, maybe it's just too much distraction, or I get overwhelmed. Like there's this, kind of felt it when we were doing level up games, where it's a sense of like too much in my head, right? And so I have to just kind of go clear that. But again, it's going back to having that self-awareness of what's going on right now in my brain that I need to like figure out and work through. And then how can I manage this pull those levers? So we talk about that a lot at Burn Boot Camp. But for myself, what are the levers that I know to pull that'll get me right back on track? So I know this probably doesn't maybe help anybody, but really more for me to anyone that's feeling this, or even Amanda, just figuring out what works best for you, trial and error.
We'll go deeper on your Level Up Games experience, because that is super cool that you and Amber both did that. And so you're in the middle of this Level Up Games. What is swirling up there? What's, you mentioned there's a lot going on. You had to clear it out. What's going on, and how do you clear it out?
I had just an overwhelming, there was a lot of commotion in my head. Not only was it a lot of cheering, which is so great, but then it's like this sense of like my battle in my brain. I went into Level Up Games personally was just for me, again, I'm a working mom. My husband travels a lot. I have a lot going on in my life. So for me to be a better version of myself, I like to challenge myself. I like to push myself outside of my comfort zone. So I went into Level Up Games just like, do your best. And my partner with our Level Up Games at Burn Boot Camp, like Norman, we're partners. So it's so great that I got to partner with Kayla Steinberg, who's amazing. She's on my team and we're good friends. And so we got to motivate each other. But then you have, I'm a competitive person. So it's like that internal battle of like, oh, I could have done better. Oh, I should have done more reps. Oh, and then you have all these people cheering. And it was just like, I just had sensory overload of all of the different emotions in my brain. So I had to leave. I had to go. I went for a walk outside and I just left for a second, centered myself. And I'm not saying that fixed everything, but it did bring me back to my purpose of being at the Level Up Games, which was different than maybe other people. Amber was there too. She might have had a different goal than I did, but I just wanted to stay true to who I was trying to show up for, which was for me. There was a selfish moment for myself, so that way I could be a better person for not just for me, but for my kids, and then for my husband and friends and family. So that was kind of a stressful moment that I had to overcome, and I don't think I did it well, but I now know I'm going to compete next year. You can mark my words. I'm going to be at Level Up Games next year, and I now have that experience because that was my first time competing, and now I know going into it what my stress is going to be, what my internal voice is going to be, how can I combat the things that are those negative, because that's never going to go away, right? So you just have to be proactive, and how am I gonna approach this next year? And so I'm actually really excited and can't wait. I'm ready.
Amber, I want to get your comments. Thank you, Trish. But I want to explain Level Up Games. So Level Up Games is an individualized location by location competition where our members compete. And sometimes it's 2 divisions, sometimes it's 4 divisions, depending on the gym and the decision that they make. But it's where members come together, and mimics the athlete games that our trainers all compete in, which is coming up here in October, the finals, the athlete games. So Level Up Games is where members can partake and scratch the itch of inspiration that they're getting from their trainers during the athlete games. And Amber, you were there too. Trish just described it so colorfully in her own words. What was your experience like?
Yeah. Very similar. So I would call myself militant to some degree. I like you, Trish. I eat the same thing every day at the same time every day. That gives me peace and that consistency, but it also means that I don't have to expend more mental capacity or mental load on making those decisions, because I just know I'm going to eat boiled eggs at 9 a.m. every day. I just know that I'm going to have a Celsius at 2 p.m. every day.
She did. I watched her do it.
I literally, even when I travel, I have boiled eggs going through the security. But that's just, it helps me go, I don't have to make that decision. And I think as a mom specifically who, 2 kids, traveling, working out, not feeling selfish. I want to give you grace. That was not a selfish decision that you made. That was a well-planned decision that you made so you could show up for yourself and for the people watching you differently. So give yourself grace on that. But I think, my experience is I have realized you talked about levers. Levers is what you do to overcome something. I know triggers. So I think one of the strategies that we need to really understand is what are the triggers that create whatever that emotion is, or the response that you're feeling, and how do you anticipate to overcome so you can pull the right lever. So for me, I don't like loud environments. Lots of people trigger stress in me, and I've seen level up games on social. We work at athlete games. I anticipated it to be a very similar environment. So I brought a blanket, I brought my noise canceling headphones, and I brought a hoodie. So that way, once I got done competing, I put my hoodie on, I put my headphones in, and I turn on my sad cowboy country music because it was
That's what you were listening to?
Yep. Chris Stapleton, Zach Bryan, because it's completely at odds with all of the other chaos that was going on. And it kind of centered me. And then once we would get closer to when it was time for us to compete again, then it was Metallica. Then it was something that would start to kind of ramp me back up. And so I went through that flow and that cycle of understanding, so I stayed, I didn't want all my adrenaline to release at one time. I needed it to release at the right time. And so I think that was the strategy that I went into. And so I think the translation of that into whatever stage of life you're in, as a mom, as a provider, as a wife, whatever, it's what are the triggers that you can anticipate, and what can you bring with you? What can you prepare? One, to reduce the mental load of having to make those decisions in the moment, but then also to just stay consistent. And I think some of the worst moments that I feel like I've probably had as a mom is when I was out of control. I felt like I was out of control. I screamed. I said the wrong thing. I dismissed. I didn't listen. Those are the mom guilt things that create that sense of shame. And so now it's if I can anticipate knowing that today's going to be crazy. We have soccer. We have baseball. I've got to meal prep. We're going to eat in the car. Traffic's going to be insane. If you know all of those things are happening, what are the things that you can do to just get to a place where, there's 10 things that are going to happen between now and dinner. I can prepare for 4 of them, and that can help to reduce some of that load. So as a strategy, that's kind of where I'm at.
So good.
Thanks. Yeah, that is really good, Deej.
No, I'm just through it all. I feel like I've got kids on the younger side of it compared to all of you guys, but it's really just having that grace for myself and for my kids too, as specifically if you're transitioning into a big movement in motherhood, whether, your kids are getting ready to go off and go to college or if they're potty training. I think it's just really understanding that they're all going through this for the first time too. Not only as their mother, but then as on the reciprocating end of it as the child, and having to go, okay, hold on. They don't understand why I would be frustrated by this. Let me explain it to them so that they know next time that we can maybe talk through this. But I also think it's, once you know better, do better type thing. And it seems a little harsh, but it's okay, once I know that this is how this works or what I can and can't control, now I need to implement the change and do better. Because if you don't, then you're just constantly stressed all the time. And then you're well, why don't they understand it? Why don't they get it? And it's well, are you teaching them to get it? Are you also helping them to know better so that they can do better? Because then again, you're just hit with the same cycles over and over and over again, whether they're 2 years old or 14 or 15. So grace and teaching everybody as well as myself.
Amanda, thank you, DJ. Amanda, what comes to mind when you ask this question to me? And I had to jot some notes down because there was a lot that came to my mind right away, and I had to sort it out. And and so I can only speak from my experience, and then experiences that I observe out there in the world at large scale that I can give you an example of. But mental stress often is the bulk of it, right? It's the physical stress is a byproduct of the mental stress, and all stress really starts in your mind. If your thoughts are things, then your thoughts can be stress. And so I think then you go one layer deeper and you say, okay, then why is mental stress so apparent? Well, if you walk around needing approval all day long from everybody else, the minute that you don't get it, is the minute that you're not good enough, right? Even if it's a small insignificant in the moment instance of this, mental stress comes from needing approval from other people. Think about that. If you need approval from other people, you're not going to get it. And the one thing that motivates all human beings is the loss of love or the gain of love. And so if you're constantly needing love, needing approval from other people and not getting it, you're not going to get it. And you see this on social media a lot when people post for validation, in an instance like, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it's pretty famously known that like kids would jump over the fence at like private jet airports and then snap pictures of themselves by, like on private jets and like near private jets and then like bragging about how they have a private jet and things like that. And it's like, well, this, obviously this kid is in need of love. He's in need of recognition. He doesn't quite approve of himself or herself yet. And so this material, external validation comes from taking this picture in front of the jet, and then all the love that comes from that. Oh my God, bro, you're so successful, blah, 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 blah. And so you see this play out on social media in all types of ways. Yeah, that's just one example. But to Amber's point, anticipating the future, so what's the antidote to that, right? If we kind of all default to being motivated by love, loss or gain of it, well, then it's inherent that approval is part of that love and acceptance, okay? So then that's not the question, do we seek approval? It's who do we seek approval from? That is the question. And the approval needs to be sought from yourself in order to manage stress. So you have to answer the question first, do you approve you? Because if you approve you, no matter whether it's your spouse, your kids, your mama, your daddy, your grandmama, it doesn't matter. You approve of you. You don't have to get approval from anyone else. If you approve of your own actions and your own intentions, then the mental stress from needing approval from other people starts to deteriorate over time because you're getting love. And you're getting love from the person who needs to give it to you the most, yourself. You have to love yourself before anybody else can love you. You have to master the inner world, your own mental game, before you can expect people externally to recognize that within you. And you'll know if you need approval because you'll ask yourself the question, why do I feel this way? If I feel like I'm not getting love shown to me, why do I feel this way? And do I approve of me or not? Okay, so that's part of it, is answering that question. Do you approve of you? All right, what's the other part? Well, anticipating tomorrow and realizing that, like Marcus Aurelius said, there's a quote, I pulled it up here, I'll read it directly. He said, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today may be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. And what he's saying there is that when you anticipate waking up the next day and running into people that disapprove of you, it's not your fault. It's likely because they don't approve of themselves, and so then they are projecting their disapproval of themselves onto you. So do not take their disapproval. And if you do not take the disapproval of others, now there's a caveat there. You can't do stupid stuff and pretend like you would approve of yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself about what is good and what is bad, and be moral about that and be honest about that, or else this philosophy doesn't work. I've practiced this a lot in my life. Needing approval from other people was basically my entire upbringing until I realized that's not a very useful way to navigate the future. I started realizing that people aren't going to approve of me no matter what tomorrow, and so I better start approving of myself if I want to create a life that I love. So do you approve of you, Amanda? And if the answer is yes, then nothing else matters. It's just you. It's you out here and in your own self-love. That's what self-love means. Did I articulate that well?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right. There was a lot swirling around in my head right there. So
Yeah, I liked it.
I needed to bring it. Do you like that Marcus Aurelius quote? I always thought that one was a really good one. I heard it. There's a Daily Stoic podcast. If you guys are into like philosophy, the Daily Stoic podcast. What's his name? Does anybody know his name?
No.
No.
Ryan something.
I can look it up.
guys, Ryan something. Anyway, he talks about the Stoics, and Marcus Aurelius was a great Stoic. He wrote a book called The Meditations, and this quote comes from the book Meditations.
Ryan Holiday.
Ryan Holiday. Yes, that guy. He's got some great books out there. So
It's a
shout
cool
out to
name,
Ryan.
too.
Yeah, Holiday. I would love to have him on here one day just to talk about, like, because all this stuff goes way, way back. It's not like new. It's not, the 90s did not invent self-disapproval. So it goes back to like
Fair enough.
thousands and thousands AD or BC.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Just one more point is like everything that we've talked about is just, again, it comes back to giving yourself space for awareness and or being willing to be self-aware, So I think that's just, it's interesting how we keep coming back to that.
If you guys would like to submit any questions into the podcast so the HQ crew can answer your most burning questions, podcast@burnbootcamp.com. And we have Chelsea, our producer. She's right there on it all the time. And we would love to help you out. All right. Thank you, Amanda, for your question. Nashville, Tennessee. And we're moving on to one more article today, you guys. All right. This one, Trish is all fired up about this one, y'all. So get ready. Hang on to your seats here. Women should not intermittent fast. Myth or fact? Okay. We have an article. DJ can pull up the article and brief it for us from the Cleveland Clinic. And it's called Intermittent Fasting for Women. And we're going to go around the room. We're going to let DJ break down the article. We're going to give our comments on it, whether this is a myth or a fact. DJ.
All right. So it says that intermittent fasting can have big and bad effects on female sex hormones, such as progesterone and estrogen. So it's not necessarily a quick and easy fix for women who are wanting to lose weight. They are saying that females can get many of the same benefits from intermittent fasting as men, such as weight loss, improved immunity, etc., but that it can have a larger impact. And a quote here says that fasting can make estrogen and progesterone take a nosedive. So basically saying that if you do intermittent fasting, you're going to screw up your hormones.
I think for me, we just need to define, there's a difference between intermittent fasting and fasting. So intermittent fasting is when you're eating during certain time frames during the day. Fasting is when you are not eating at all. So I can see that when I was reading this article, it felt like they were leaning more into the effects of fasting and how that can affect a women's menstrual cycle, all of those things. But intermittent fasting is really just how are you strategically eating your food during a certain time frame during the day. And I think the rules are, I don't intermittent fast. I don't know if anyone intermittent fasts here, but it's like noon to you can't eat before noon, and I'm going to mess this up, so maybe someone can fact check me, and you stop eating by like 6 p.m. But what you are still eating your calories. You're still eating whatever calorie range is 2,000 calories a day. You're just eating them strategically. And really it's supposed to help you from overeating. I think that that's the goal is, so if I start eating at noon and then I have a stopping window for people who maybe like to snack late at night, if that's like a habit that you've picked up, this might be a way for you to get rid of that habit of snacking late before bed because you want to stay in that calorie range. It doesn't matter when you eat your calories. You can eat your calories. If I want to eat all 2,000 calories between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., I'm not going to gain a whole bunch of weight because I didn't eat all day. So I just think that this article is confusing to me, and I don't like when things are over dramatized, when it makes it feel like it's bigger than it is, because intermittent fasting is a beautiful, I think, way for people that do need parameters around eating. I think it works really well for people. Again, I don't do it, so I can't speak to it, but I know a lot of people that do follow intermittent fasting because it just helps them stay on track. So I think this goes for anything. When you're reading an article, just make sure that it's that you're taking it from a credible source, and I think that this is, but just making sure that you're asking questions. Take it to your trainer, and that's why I'm going to plug our focus meetings. That's why I think focus meetings and having that time with your one-on-one trainer, if I took this article and I said, can you please help explain this to me for a trainer, they can then digest the information and help get me on track for maybe some things that from this article that would work, or should I try intermittent fasting? There's so many different strategies out there when it comes to eating, but I think that that's where I got a little bit, and Todd Devin said I got worked up, is because it didn't feel like it was all truth. It was just kind of over dramatizing this fact of fasting, and it's different than intermittent fasting. Did that make sense?
That made a lot of sense. Okay. Yes. And if you would like to come back with more fire in a moment, please.
Let me take a break and think about it. Yeah.
Please do so. When I see this article, what I hear is somebody trying to do good and answer the question people are asking, like how do I get better, right? So let's not go to this article and let's just ask that question: how do I get better? Well, getting better hasn't changed if you're talking about health and fitness, and it won't change. It's hypertrophy, it's strength training. That's number one. Number two is VO2 max or conditioning. Number three is lengthening, like yoga, deep, long form stretching. Number four is calories, like Trish was talking about, energy in, out. And number five is composition of calories, meaning macronutrients or macros like people hear, most importantly, protein. And if you just, like, let me just even simplify that even more, because that's complex for probably a lot of people. It's lift weights every week. Make sure you get your heart rate up as long and as high as you can every week. Don't forget to stretch out every week. And make sure you know how many calories that your body needs to consume in order to be where you want to be.
Yes.
That's it. And if you just do those things, you could even say like resistance training and nutrition. Like you could even just say it that simply. It is about going back to the basics. In my opinion, I agree with Trish that intermittent fasting is just a tool to control 4 and 5, which is calories and energy. So for me, and I'll touch on a little bit of confusion around like the windows of intermittent fasting. To me, I've always sat back and observed these religious like nutrition wars of people trying to sell Mediterranean versus Atkins, and then it came into paleo versus keto, and then it's in fasting, and now, who knows where we're going to go next. And I'm not the person that's going to sit here and, put shame or poo-poo these different, did I say poo-poo? These different ideologies, because they're all great strategies. It just depends on who you are. So to put down another person's strategy that works for them, you're not trying to build the tallest building in the city. You're trying to break down all the other buildings so that yours is the tallest without having to do the work, right? By putting down other people. So we do in politics all the time. It's like, no. What we need to do is realize that intermittent fasting is most of the time a tool for busy people. That's all it is. If your lifestyle is like you work 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, like I do, I'm flying all over the country all the time. When I get home from work, like I want to spend as much time as I can with my family. I don't want to sit there and have to meal prep every night. I could keep going on and on and on, but the reason I intermittent fast every day, not every day, but most days, if I'm being honest, most days, 85, 90% of the days, is because I'm busy and I'll get my calories in a 24-hour window. And I'm not one that thinks there's such a asymmetrical benefit to trying paleo or keto or whatever other diet out there that I'm going to get more benefit by, inconveniencing my lifestyle. So for me, it's simply a window. I started at 12, so I wouldn't eat for basically like 12 hours. That was around, noon for me. And then I got really comfortable with that for 2 months, and then I went back to 2, and then I got really comfortable with that for a long time, and then I went back to 4. I got comfortable with that, and then I go back to, I'm now at like 8 p.m. And so what I'll do is I'm not doing this. Like I said, I don't believe that the benefits are there, so I'm not going to like follow what somebody else says verbatim. I actually will wake up in the morning, double scoop of Afterburn. That's it. I'll take that back with some almond milk and some creatine, and then I will not eat until 8 p.m., and then I'll have the most glorious meal of my life at 8 p.m. every single night, and I so look forward to it. I got turkey meatballs. I got chicken. I've got, Caesar salad. I've got rice. I've got green beans, and it's just the burn meals. Let me see these burn meals. Okay. The Superpower Steak Fajita Bowl, 390 calories, 31 grams of protein, 29 grams of carbs, 16 grams of fat. I'm eating 2 of these bad boys, along with maybe some fruit with my kids and, some other miscellaneous stuff. So that's my routine, and I don't think it's right. I don't think it's wrong. I just believe that it works for my lifestyle. Yeah. So please, people, we have enough confusion with nutrition out there. Let's not shame anyone's preferences because you think you're right.
Yeah, I think, bringing it back to what's really interesting is it's about women and whether or not this works for women. And so I think they took I don't know if it's a fairly myopic approach, but they went real micro with the way that they were explaining what they were trying to convey, right? They were talking about intermittent fasting. It came across as more fasting than intermittent fasting, but with a direct correlation to whether or not there was a hormonal response. And I think anything we do as women has some type of hormonal response, for positive versus negative. And so I think for me, when I look at an article like this in particular, it's what's the audience? Who are they trying to speak to? And if I'm consuming this article and I'm not the audience, then I think, to Devin's point, it becomes very confusing, and then it's distracting. And do I squirrel into this thing? But if I've done some research and I understand that I've worked towards almost all the 5 things that Devin has talked about. I'm strength training, I'm cardiovascularly training, I'm, taking in protein and things like that, but I'm still not reaching my goals, then maybe this does become something where I have a situational response to something that I'm doing or that I'm not doing, and I need to dive in a little bit deeper and go a little bit more micro. But I think as a general consumer, sometimes this does kind of squirrel and detract us away from just, hey, work out, eat your protein, drink your water, sleep. Your hormones will be pretty balanced if we're doing that. But if, you might have something else deeper going on. So that's just my interpretation of this particular article.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not somebody who does fast because I'm the opposite of Devin. I am super busy and I'm like, I need the whole day to make sure that I get in all the food that I need to be eating. I'm trying to get my, 200 grams of protein in, and that takes a long time. I can't just sit there and like one meal and just house it all.
It's a lot.
Yeah, because then I feel like I would have a hard time sleeping at night. But my mother-in-law is postmenopausal, and it is the best thing that has ever happened to her. She is preaching it from the mountaintops, and I'm like, no, that's great. And she keeps being like, you should. And I'm like, I love that this works for you, but I know how my body needs to consume food, and one day I'll get there, I'm sure. But I love that works for you. You do that, and I'm gonna keep doing what I know works for me. To Devin's point, so.
Yeah. It's good.
I'm about to house 200 grams of protein in like 30 minutes.
I would throw up.
Oh,
I'd be
dude.
like, it's so much.
I bet you sleep really well though, because you're just like so.
Well, and
overfull.
that's just another benefit for me, and it goes back to the idiosyncrasies of different human beings. I am a chronic late night snacker, and I realize that I am self-proclaiming this, and I've willed this into the future. But I started eating my kids' Lara bars when Cameron was a little girl. Now it's not Lara bars anymore; it's Afterburn bars. But still, 3 Afterburn bars is in the middle of the night isn't conducive to gaining, keeping a lean physique. So
I was gonna say, for as long as I've known you, you have been known to be a little late night snacker.
Those Afterburn peanut butter cup bars, you put 3 of them in the. I swear, it's bad.
All at one time.
Yeah, at one
You
time,
eat 3?
and for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And
So casually.
yeah.
Yeah, I do that.
Well, you guys also have to realize. Well, I also know that I'm speaking to an audience right now that is predominantly women, and I'm also 215 pounds with like probably like 170 to 180 pounds of lean muscle. So like my body can also process. Yeah. My machine is just larger in size, so therefore I need more energy for it to go forward. And likewise for Tony, Tony's 6'7", dude's a tower, and he needs more energy than I need on a daily basis. And just so there is
he does 5.
There is
he does 5 Afterburn bars.
5 Afterburn bars. So I'll promote 1 Afterburn bar in the middle of the night. That's part of the reason why we made them, is for my own consumption, so that I stop eating Lara bars. So, fun fact. Anybody else have, before we move on, does anybody else have thoughts on intermittent fasting? And myth or fact, what do you think, Trish?
Well, this is a myth because it's a strategy. It's not a fact.
Amber?
Agree.
Ditto.
DJ?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go 4 myths on that one on the count of it's a strategy and not a fact for every human being. Okay. Number 8 segment today, you guys. Are you ready for this one? All right, this is our last member Q&A for the day. We have Sydney from Oceanside, California. She is going to ask, how can women manage cravings and emotional eating in relation to hormonal fluctuations? Okay, how can women manage cravings and emotional eating in relation to hormonal fluctuations?
Intermittent fasting.
That's why we put this question here. No.
Well, if we go back
thank you,
to
Sydney.
our menstrual phase,
Yeah.
they tell you to eat iron. No, I get it. It's hard. Like,
Yeah.
there really is such a thing as just having that craving. I mean, the same as in pregnancy too. Like your mind just gets stuck on it. And it's like, I literally have to have this right now or I will perish. At least that's how I felt in certain scenarios where I'm like, I
Perish. I
need
love that
to
word.
have this milkshake. Otherwise, like, that's it.
Yeah.
I can't function anymore. But you can have a little bit of that indulgence. Like that's what would help me from, overeating that thing or constantly coming back to it is be like, satisfy that craving, whatever it is, have a little bit of it, but then follow it up with something else. One thing that was just became my kryptonite was dates with peanut butter and then a little bit of like a dark chocolate piece inside. So I still had that like little bit of sweetness, and then you obviously get sweetness from the dates, but then I was like, okay, I can satisfy a sweet tooth craving with something that is going to be beneficial to me. And same during like my period, I'll have a little bit of like ice cream or a cookie or something that like my body's just really wanting. So I can be like, okay, done, check. If I need more, I've got something else to back that up.
Yeah. I'm all or nothing. I'm either eating it, all of it, and just going after it, or it can't be anywhere near
Yeah,
me and I don't
be
want it at
gone.
all. Yeah. Maybe that goes back to the militant part of my personality, but it just, I don't know. I don't do well with just a little. I'm like all or nothing. But I do think from a craving and a strategy, it's just knowing that about yourself. So if you are able to partition that out and have smaller portions and say, okay, I'm satisfied with this little thing, then hey, by all means do that. If you're all or nothing, cut it out. You just know that that's your strategy. So, but I think from an emotional perspective, that goes a little bit deeper than just a tactical execution of whether or not I'm going to eat this thing or not eat this thing. I think again, it goes back to what's triggering the need, right? What's going on in this moment, and sit in that moment for just a second. And to Devin's point earlier about even just being accepted and accepting yourself, like what's going on with me right now that's making me think that I need this thing. And I think one of the things that really goes on nutritionally or within our bodies is just chronic dehydration. Being dehydrated can increase your food cravings dramatically. Like if you that's a great place to start, is just drink some water.
Are you
And if
thirsty?
you're still thirsty,
I ask my kids that when they're like, I want a
Yeah.
snack. I'm like, drink some water.
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I was gonna say growing up, whenever we would have like big emotions or we were really upset, came back from like a hard day at school, or we would be like, Mom, I'm bored. She'd be like, go have a glass of water.
Yeah.
It was always like the first response,
Yeah.
go have a glass of water, calm down, have some water, and then you'll be able to like regulate things.
Yeah, but
better.
dehydration plays a big role in food cravings.
I think when I first read this, and then Amber, you beautifully just talked about triggers and knowing your triggers. So if I know that when I'm maybe in my cycle, I tend to I crave, and I'm now, and this is maybe right or wrong, I don't know. I think of cravings as almost an excuse. Like, I'm craving this. I have a friend, I don't talk to her anymore, but she told me that she woke up when she was pregnant one day in the middle of the night, like 1 a.m. and needed 12 donuts. Like she had her husband go get 12 donuts because she just needed them because it was craving them. I'm like, but like, let's like sit on that, to your point, and like, why do you need it? I think that's now where I'm at, is what it might be a craving because something's triggering you to feel that way, but you need to dig into what is causing that. And that's me, and I think people that are emotional eaters, there's something else that's triggering that, right? What happened that day that's causing you to feel this way? And then just to Amber's earlier point, if you know that those things happen, or that there could be a moment, what's going to be that back pocket, kind of to DJ's point, of like, what are you going to have on there that's on reserve because you just want to have something to satisfy that? But then I think the biggest thing is really digging deep into figuring out why you are experiencing this craving based off of a trigger that happened in your life. I don't know if you can dig into
Yeah,
that more.
Trish, guys, I have some beef with this question, to be honest with you.
I felt like you would.
Yeah, well, because it's like emotional eating, is that a man-made construct, and is it just for women? Are women the only ones with hormones, and are you just, is that true? Tony, go to like Wikipedia, or like go to some Chat GPT or Google or something, and see, or go to Google, see if you can find like any type of information on emotional eating, and any science around like gender specific, because listen, I want to have 12 donuts too, okay? And I don't.
Same.
And I don't, because I think discipline is something that transcends emotional eating, or something. Like I had a member that came in a long time ago on the podcast for a focus meeting, and we sat down together. And she said that she was diagnosed with the chronic overeating disorder. And I said, who diagnosed you with chronic overeating disorder? And she told me her camp counselor in 7th grade. Mm-hmm. And I said, so you've been living your whole life thinking that you have chronic overeating disorder, which I'm not even sure if that's a real thing. We got to look that up too. I don't think it is, but I could be wrong, and I stand to be corrected. But my point is like, you went your whole life on some false pretense that this is the way it was. And some camp counselor who has no credentials at all, they're not qualified. This is like, by the way, like a volunteer, kid from college that came to be camp counselor at a camp one weekend. I said, I was diagnosed with chronic overeating disorder. And I said, who diagnosed you? And we basically got to the bottom of it, and we found out that she was all of her nutritional decisions were based on the fact that she was a chronic overeater. Mm-hmm. And that's who she was. And so I just think it has more to do with the definition that, like, how we define ourselves, mm-hmm. right? I am a disciplined person. There's people that say, I am a completely undisciplined person. If I am a disciplined person, and that's my mindset, my set of my mind, my belief, well, then emotional eating, it can't be stronger than that because I am disciplined. So I want to pull up an article, and I could be way off basis here for sure. And I'll stand to be corrected. Hopefully Tony's not over there trying to bias me out and call me out by finding some article that says otherwise. But show something on the screen, Tony. I want to see what you guys found. But what do you guys think? Emotional eating, just for women, does it go beyond just an addiction to food? Is it more than that? I have no idea, but intuitively, let's see what this says. Okay, it says emotional eating, the tendency to eat in response to positive and or negative emotions, is present in more than half of the patients seeking special obesity treatment and is particularly prevalent in women. Okay, well, say 5. We might click on 5. Oh, don't do it yet. Women are also more likely to experience mood-related disorders and eating disorders. Reported sex differences and how different emotions affect food intake are largely anecdotal and have not yet been studied empirically. Okay, understanding emotional triggers for eating in men and women is key to developing tailored interventions for people seeking obesity treatment, of whom a large majority are women. What does number 5 say? If you click on 5 right next to women in the second sentence, that takes us to an article. Okay. Link that article for people in the show notes, because it looks to be like a Google scholarly article by PubMed. Seems to be independent. Okay, we're not going to go into it, but so maybe the answer is probably that it's true that women tend to have at scale a higher propensity for emotional eating, but isn't secluded to women only. And it did mention there that men and women. So guys, you're allowed to talk about emotional eating too. Okay,
Permission granted.
This isn't just reserved for the ladies. We all have emotions. We all have negative emotions. We all have positive emotions. And to me, it's first, what is your belief systems? Am I a disciplined person or am I not? Am I a person that sticks to my promises no matter what? Or am I a person that allows and tolerates breaking promises to myself? First, that's the foundational decision. And then from there, and DJ, I know you're saying this in jest because you are a very disciplined person and you don't really mean this, but people really mean it when they say, like, if I don't have those 12 donuts, I'm going to die, and they believe it, or I'm going to perish. Or you might have heard people say, I could eat a whole cow, or some, generic, or I fell off the wagon if they're talking about their nutrition. But these subtle language patterns, you guys, we wrote about it in our book, our USA Today bestselling. Burn.
Go buy it.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. We learn that the subtlety of language is one of the big differences in your performance overall in life. We believe that words are weapons. Okay, words are weapons. So if you say, I need this or I'm going to die, you're probably going to have a tendency to go get that thing. If you said, you know what, 12 donuts sound extremely good to me right now. I don't need them, and I will not die if I don't have them. But boy, girl, does that sound so good. I would love to smash 12 donuts right now. Okay, and then go eat 25 grapes, go drink a glass of water, like DJ's mom said, and then if you still want the donuts, eat them. Eat them. But don't convince yourself that you are a person that has to have other things outside of yourself in order to feel whole or to not die or to feel alive.
Can we flip this for
yeah,
1
we can
second,
flip-
though?
flip
Like,
it,
so
flip
just
it.
think about, because the article that we just pulled up, it said understand, right? It said understand. I know lots of people, and sometimes I can fall into this, where I get so I'm controlling something else in that same degree to overcome or soften or detract from whatever it is that's triggering me to have this particular thing. So, like in this case, the thing is overeating. But if I'm just trying to control something that's making me feel good or bad, I know lots of people that overexercise. I know lots of people that restrict food intake. I know lots of people that, cut themselves, do bad things. I don't know a lot of people that cut themselves, but like there's things that I think the general idea of this overcoming whatever's making me feel a certain way is going to be directed through some type of pathway. Yeah. And one of them for me is just overeating. Mm-hmm. Something else is overexercising. Something else is shopping too much. Something else is, it's like the extreme behavior of reacting to something making me feel good or bad. This just happens to be one thing. Yeah. So it's just, for me, it's like a bigger conversation.
Yeah, it's going back to those triggers and figuring out what it really truly is that would be triggering somebody to want to go down that pathway. Yeah. So again, it's a lot of deeper self-reflection.
Yeah.
To your point. But.
And then I will say, if you are feeling this kind of taking it back to just the eating part, I found that if you have protein too, water is always my go-to. And then I'll try and find a snack that has a lot of protein in it. Mm-hmm. The reason why I prioritize protein is for the benefits, obviously, that I get in recovery, because I work really hard in the gym and I have goals, but then also it keeps me fuller longer. So it might solve that need of like that craving, whatever it is. I just try and find something with protein. So very much on a lighter scale, but I wanted to share that note.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really good conversation, you guys, and I think that's probably a good time to wrap it up there. We went pretty deep today on women's health, and that was as promised. So thank you all for giving your input and sharing your experiences. And if you want to share your story, you guys out there, you gals, podcast at burnbootcamp.com. Okay. Go ahead and submit your story into us, a question to us, or, don't submit not reviews though. Go to Apple and do that on Apple so that everybody else can see it. The more reviews that you give us on Apple, the more this podcast will perpetuate in the digital atmosphere. So, as a reminder to everybody today, since today was the first time we got to do an ad, meals are finally here. You can order your 12-pack at burnbootcamp.com/meals. Get 5% off if you put it on auto ship. Remember, there's 20 plus meals, all high in protein. And, we talked a lot about how to control your intake and your calories and your protein and your nutrition today. Well, here is one easy, convenient way. Don't forget to buy some for you and get on auto ship for your family as well. Okay, you guys? That has been so good. Any closing comments from anybody before we take it out of here? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening in today to the episode. And if you're a new listener, like I asked, please subscribe to Burn Boot Camp and leave a review. And you can also watch our podcast on YouTube. All right, make sure to subscribe on YouTube as well. Don't miss a single episode. You guys, we're here every week. Thank you to the HQ crew. Give them a round of applause, everybody. Woo! And we're going to end this like we always do. 2 claps on 2.